Event organizers, get ready to level up. You're listening to the Event Academy Live podcast, where we elevate motivated event organizers. This podcast is brought to you by Fusion, all the event ticketing features and support you need for one low price. Check them out at getfusionsolutions.com. Now, it's time for your host, Jake Spurley.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Event Academy Live. Today, we have a special guest that is quite close to where I live. I'm in Oregon. She's in like northern California, and we're going to be talking about how she broke attendance records at her fair, surpassing the post-COVID fair that she had that we all know in most events. The next event after COVID, you saw record-breaking numbers. She even broke those numbers. This lady knows what she's doing, even with potentially the limited resources she has in a smaller coastal county fair. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce you guys all to the Del Norte County Fair manager, I'm going to assume, executive director, King Matumbo. She runs it all. She's the lady, Kim Floyd. Kim, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you bet. It's, I think I sent you a different podcast episode that we did with the executive director of the Canadian Association of Fairs and Exhibitions. And she's like, yeah, she started talking to me about your fair and how well it went and the record attendance. I'm like, Kim, we have to have you on the show. I mean, there has to be something that our listeners can learn from what you were up to the past couple of years. So for the folks that might not know the Del Norte Fair, tell them just a little bit about you and maybe a little bit about the fair, just to kind of catch them up to speed.
Okay, so I am, like I told you before we started, I'm a fair brat. So I grew up in the fair industry. My dad was a fair manager for 30 plus years, starting out in Washington. And then in '89, we moved to Del Norte County, and he became the fair manager here. In 2017, he retired, and in 2018, I took over. And so I have been the CEO since 2018. So I have grown up in this industry, and I've done pretty much everything. When I was 11, I started as a concessionaire, just like you. Working for Crazy Eric's at Kitsap County Fair. So I've done pretty much everything. I've cleaned bathrooms. I've done pretty much everything. Advertising. I've done production with concerts, everything before I became the CEO.
Yeah, so you definitely have a breadth of knowledge. Fairs are in your blood. Like, it's just what you live and breathe. Give us a little background about, I said it wrong. I thought it was Del Norte. I butchered that one. Del Norte County Fair.
It's okay.
I'm an Oregonian, whatever. Give us a little background of, like, just kind of catch up to speed. What is the Del Norte County Fair? Do you guys have a rodeo? Like, what is your fair all about?
Okay, so we are in California. We have the way that we are classified is by size. So we are a class 2 fair. So California is class 1 to like a class 7. So if you think of like Orange County, they're a big fair. They're like a class 7 fair. We're small. So to be a class 2 fair, to be about 20,000 in attendance that's about a class 2 fair. 25,000. That's our range. We are the most northern California fair on 101. So we're kind of all in our little island up here in California. So it's kind of, sometimes it can be difficult to get entertainment, to get people to get up here because they have to travel so far, and to create a route can be really difficult. So we are a 4-day fair. So typically for the last 5-6 years, what we do on Thursday night is we have a Christian concert. And then on Friday night, we have a country concert. Saturday night, we have Bulls and Barrels. And then on Sunday night, we typically have had a demolition derby in the past. And then this year, because we couldn't get the demolition cars, we did a tough truck and pit bike race. So that's what we did.
Wow. That's it's funny, back when I was doing a lot of things for the Columbia County Fair back in my pre-event ticketing days, we had a Sunday day and we called it a throwaway day, half price throwaway day. Like, if you don't have any money, come on Sunday, there's something to do. And it's cool that you said you guys did a demolition derby, because that's one of the things I implemented was, hey, let's go blow some trucks up. Let's go blow some cars up. And it was funny. The year that we implemented that, I think we doubled or tripled our Sunday attendance just by bringing that one thing in. And I think it's interesting. Folks think that Sundays are dead days. They don't have to be dead days if you actually invest the time and energy into them, like putting in a demolition derby.
It was really interesting. So we were like everybody else. Staffing was a huge issue. I had one of my senior maintenance. I only have two permanent maintenance staff, and one of them happened to retire just a couple days before fair. So I had one, and then the rest of them were all part-time workers. And staffing was a very difficult situation. My right-hand woman in the office this year had never been through a fair before. So she had showed at a fair when she was younger, but she had never worked through a fair. And by the way, she did absolutely stellar, and I couldn't have gone through it without her. And then the other one was my daughter. She grew up through it just like I did. I couldn't have done fair without those two ladies. And then I had an exhibitor clerk who has been with me for the last 10 years, and she did amazing too. But I mean, that was my staff. And then my maintenance staff, I had a handful of really young kids, like 16-year-old. And then I had a handful of older gentlemen that were like 55, 60-year-old. And that was my staff this year. It was really challenging to get everything together. So what we did is we went back to the basics. We didn't spend a whole lot of money on crazy halftime events in our rodeo, as well as our tough truck and pit bike event. First off, I couldn't get the specialty acts for our Bulls and Barrels. I tried. Unfortunately, with the gas prices, our diesel price here is $7 a gallon. Who in the world wants to come here? It's very, very expensive. And it's $6.05 right now for gasoline. So it's very expensive to come here. So we couldn't get the specialty acts. So in about 5 minutes, my staff and I came up with an event. So what we did is we ordered 10 blow-up dinosaur costumes, rideable dinosaur costumes on Amazon. And we have a local dairy farm, Alexander Dairy, and we had them bring three mid-size calves. And we did an adult calf scramble. And those 10 adults had to ride out on their blow-up Jurassic or dinosaurs, and they had to chase after these calves. It was the best thing. It was like cost us $300, and the 3 winners won $100 cash. And everybody absolutely loved it. And they said, "You guys are doing this next year, right?" And that was our halftime act. That was it. And then in our tough truck, our halftime act was a hillbilly wheelbarrow race, and the prize was $100, and so they had to run the course of the pit bike course, and it was hysterical. So,
I think there's I just want to stop you there before I lose track of what I want to ask you. There's two nuggets that I want to kind of dive deeper into. A, coming up with acts in entertainment that doesn't cost a lot of money. I'll ask you that second. But first, I need to ask you, and this is more to help other event organizers. You said you didn't have a large staff. You had the bare minimum. Talk to me about how you survive with that. Because I think that's a lot of event organizers right now, and especially fairs. We're all having a hard time recruiting people or just getting people to help. If I was somebody listening to this episode right now, and I only had a couple people when I might normally have 10, like, how did you manage that? What are some things they can do to like still be successful with the limited resources?
What we did was we reached out. We reached out to friends. You know, the one thing I have learned, and I guess my my dad did it with us, is we lean on our family. And so I told my board this too. If it wasn't for my family, this fair wouldn't have gone on. And then my family reached out to friends and other people, and that's just kind of how it happens. And you know, Facebook, social media can be your best friend. It can be kind of a hindrance at times, but there were times where we were struggling with getting our ticket takers and sellers. And so we put a post on social media, hey, you want a part-time job to get your school clothes or whatever. And that within 3 days we had our ticket takers and sellers because we put that post out on Facebook. So don't be afraid of making that post and doing that outreach. We reached out to our local workforce center, and you know, word of mouth works amazing. So that's what we did, and we leaned on people. One thing that we found is a lot of our volunteer programs, those people are getting older, and it worries me. One of our dear volunteers, she couldn't do a whole lot of volunteering this year because she's battling cancer. So we reached out to the local church to help with her, and they came together and rallied around her to help her with some of our still exhibits. So it's just really important to reach out to some of these local groups to try and help. And then don't be afraid to let go of some things that you know you may have had all the time, and you just can't get the groups to do it anymore. I didn't have parking attendants this year. I couldn't get them. I couldn't get the parking attendants. And I realized that, you know, I would rather have security than parking attendants. And we had record attendance. So with record attendance comes record parking. So that was a massive challenge. So we were out there in my Can-Am and the golf carts, and we were making sure that the parking lot full sign was up, and everybody was being very careful on, you know, if people were double parking. The first day, it was a challenge. We had people that were double parking, and they actually parked in front of the fire department truck. So the local fire department got a hold of Caltrans, which is the local highway safety services, and got I think like 80 cones, and they sectioned off areas so that people couldn't double park in those areas. So everybody was able to work together so that we could make sure that the rest of the fair went smoothly. So, you know, I mean, we just kind of went with the flow. I always try and just go with the flow, think out of the box, and don't get completely stuck on the little things.
I think you brought up so many great points of don't be afraid to ask for help. Sometimes we just get so in our heads of we're the fair, we got this. Like at the end of the day, most fairs are very community oriented, you know, and everybody loves the fair. Who doesn't like the fair? And don't be afraid to go outside and ask for help. Put on social media, hey, we need this. Hey, we need that. People, it's amazing at how much people actually want to help. when you just ask for help. Like, helping makes people feel good. People like to help. You just have to ask and put yourself out there to get the help. The other great point that you made was you had to make a decision: parking or security. Which one is it? And I think that's another important thing for folks to consider is sometimes you can't have it all. And that sucks. But such is life. Life's not fair. But what you did is you made an educated decision of, hey, do I need both? Yes, I do. I only get to have one though. So what is that, like, what's the best ROI, or what's the biggest mitigating risk factor? Like, which one is actually going to move the needle the most? And you made that with security. I think that's, that's brilliant. And sometimes it's just, we have to think through those things. We can't just say, I'm going to go, half to parking, half to security. Like, why do something, I'll say it, why do something half-ass when you can do one thing really, really good? Do one thing 100% right, and maybe just step back on the other side. I think those are two insanely important things for folks to consider. It's, with adapting times, you have to be able to adapt and just roll with those punches. And it sounds like you guys did that fantastically. I mean, it's interesting just talking to our clients. Really, it's like sometimes they just give up. There's like, nope, technically I'm not doing it. You didn't. You found a way, you persevered, you went through, and you did it. And I think that's freaking awesome. On my next question here, which is really about the entertainment. I have so many discussions with our clients or whoever on the podcast, and they're so caught up in spending big money for big entertainment, or spending any money for entertainment just to fill stages. And it's like, you don't have to do those things. You don't have to drop $5,000 on a fiddle player just because you need this section of entertainment. Like, get creative. And you said it, you just said it. You and your staff spent 5 minutes, they came up with acts. Like, it doesn't need to be that difficult. I think sometimes as event organizers, we always think, oh, to get entertainment, we have to hire it. We have to do it this way. There are no rules in events. You make your own rules. It's your event. You have full control over how you want to do it, what entertainment it is. I mean, hillbilly wheelbarrow races. Come on, who's not going to want to go out and see that? Even if it just consumes 5-10 minutes, you know how many people probably took videos of that and put that online? I mean, I would probably say hundreds.
Oh, it was hysterical because when Miranda made the post on that, when we made the decision, and I will tell you, I'm the CEO when her and the gentleman that helps us with the demolition derby, they made the decision to cancel the demolition derby and only go to tough trucks and pit bikes. I was concerned. And they said, well, we're going to add Pee-wee pit bikes. And I said, okay. I said, but you have to understand, you got to make it entertaining for the crowd. You can't, don't make it where it is like watching paint dry on a wall. So you have to add some type of entertaining, implement something entertaining. So I said, what about like a hillbilly wheelbarrow race? And they said, well, what do you mean? And I said, get two partners, two people, one in the wheelbarrow and one pushing it, and they have to do the pit bike course. And I said, add some water to it so it's really fun, and throw $100 into the mix, and there you go. And see if like Tractor Supply or Home Depot will donate it, and then you can have an extra prize if they decorate and as a hillbilly, which we had some really interesting outfits show up. So they were like, oh, okay. So Miranda did the poster, and within 8 hours, it had like 8,000 hits. It was the most popular poster. And like I said, my county is only 25,000, and that's including the prison. So, I mean, it was huge. And she didn't boost anything. So it was absolutely huge. And so they ended up, they started panic. They're like, oh my gosh, are we going to have to do like morning heats of this, so trial runs before it even starts. I mean, and it was great. And I was concerned. Sunday was our biggest day. Sunday is family day. So 2 adults and 3 kids, get 12 and under, get in for $20. And both parking lots filled up, and there was no place to park. And it was absolutely packed. We absolutely packed the grandstands, and that event went on for 3.5 hours, and nobody left. Nobody left.
Wow.
Which was crazy. All the vendors ran out of food. The carnival was absolutely packed, and everybody stayed till 9 o'clock till the end. And our junior livestock broke a record and sold $250,000 that day.
My
Junior livestock auction did the best we've ever done. $250,000. And mind you, we are one of the poorest counties in the state of California.
Yeah. I want to touch on this and expand on that topic. Before I forget, though, you made a comment earlier about it needs to be entertaining. And I think so often as organizers, we get caught up in what do we want our event to be without thinking about what do the consumers want? What do the people actually handing us money to come to the event actually want to see? And you made that great point of, okay, you can add the Pee-wee thing, but is that really what people want to pay to see? Like, is that interesting, or are people going to watch it for 5 minutes and say, okay, that was cute, now this is boring, sort of thing? And I just want folks to really hear that, in that it's not about you. And I preach this on all my posts that I do on social media. It's not about you. It's about your attendees. What do they want to see? Are you providing them a good experience? Do they even want to watch this? Or are you just guessing that they want to watch it? You know, we have to make sure that at the heart of every decision, we're thinking about our stakeholders, our attendees, and making sure that we're meeting their needs. You know, yes, it's our event. Yes, we can make decisions, but at the end of the day, if we're not making them happy, we're not providing them a good experience, a good memorable experience, they're not going to come back, or they're not going to come back as frequently.
Absolutely. And I have always been one that I listen to my community. So, you know, like I said, this community doesn't have a whole lot of money. So what I have always told my staff and volunteers is, when these kids and these families come to our fair, it's because most of them can't go to the Disneyland. And yeah, Disneyland is in California. They can't take their families to the big theme parks. So they come to the fair. And what we found this year is they want to come to the fair because they want the family experience. So what we really did this year is we wanted to encompass that family feel. We did a little farmers at the fair for the small kids, the 36 and under kids, 36 inches and under kids. So it was all hands-on. There was little tractors, little things that was food to farm to experience with a snack, farm to table, with a snack from Safeway at the very end. We had that in the poultry barn, and that was all for the little kids. And we had a group that helped organize that for us. We had local entertainment that came and entertained the crowds. We had our 4-H that did demonstrations. They did robotics. They did sewing. They did arts and crafts, hands-on for all ages, in our home arts. We did our roots and shoots floral, did floral demonstrations in the floral department. So we encompassed family-oriented events for the community. It didn't cost us much of anything, but it was something that everybody could do. You know, I spent a little bit of money and had a reptile show, but it was something that everybody could touch the snakes, and if they wanted to. I didn't, but that's me. they could do all of those things. And we just wanted to make sure that we gave every age group something to do this year, and wanted to bring it back to family. The fair is the it's supposed to be where memories are made. And I hope everybody remembers that, because that's super important.
No, you're totally right, and that's one thing that's unique about annual events, is that they are once a year, and a lot of people make it a tradition. And that's two things. One, recurring revenue, because if you provide a good experience, they're going to come back next year. But two, it's on you that if you don't consistently provide a good experience, you're now going to break that tradition throughout that family or household, whatever. They're going to go find a different tradition to do every year. And that's not going to be going to your event, your fair, rodeo, whatever it is. I have to ask the question because my mind is just curious. You said you're one of the poorest counties in all of California. You had record attendance. What did you do differently with your marketing to get this attendance? Or what is your marketing strategy to drive people to your fair?
We do, this year I did a little bit differently. We do a lot of social media. I advertise north in Curry County in Oregon. And then this year I advertised south in Eureka in Humboldt County. This year was a very unique year. There was the McKinney fire, and I don't know if you're aware of that. So what happened was this terrible fire blew up in Redding or Siskiyou County. And because of that, Yreka had to cancel their fair. They are 1 week after me. Golden Siskiyou Fair had to cancel because of that. And I love that fair, that CEO, he's a good friend of mine. But because of that, what I did was I immediately boosted. That was the only boost I did on social media. I boosted for those people to get out of that area and come over to the coast and enjoy this area. And I made sure to do those boosts from in those areas to get out of that smoky heat, to come over into the clean, cool air. So those are one of the things that we did. We made sure to do daily posts on Facebook, Instagram. Those are the main two that we do every single day. We also do the local movie theater. And then we do a radio spot, the local radio spot. Those ones that we do those ones all the time. This year, since you do marketing too, I was really on the fence of doing this, but I actually did it. We did Ticket Spice and we did online ticket sales. I did it last year, but I did it with a different company, and I just wasn't really happy with it last year. Two reasons. The one is when the person went to go purchase it, they had to ask a lot of questions. They had to answer a lot of questions in order to purchase their ticket. I didn't want to do that. I wanted somebody to get their ticket. If I want their information, get it when they get in the door. The way it was this year, it was much simpler. I also made our carnival sales online. So your pre-sale carnival ticket was purchasable online as well. So last year we did about 2,300 online, and last year, mind you, was the very first time that we had done online sales. This year we were almost 20,000, and I started it only 2 weeks before fair. So that was a huge difference. So that was pretty good. And I also went through their site, as well as our brand new carnival. We went with Midway of Fun this year, and he did advertising as well, which helped out tremendously. And they did really well too. They had a completely different system this year. They had magic money. So that was a pretty cool system to see too. So I could watch everything, what was going on. I could see which carnival was, or which ride was the biggest hot spot, and I could watch it in real time all throughout the fair. So that was new for me. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, you made great points, and especially one being, if you're not selling tickets online, you better start now. If you're not doing that, you're going to get left in the dust eventually. It's just the way the world's working. People want to buy online. They just want to get in, get things done, put on their calendar, be done with it. I guess as we kind of wrap up our episode here, Kim, if there was just one thing that you could tell an event organizer or just educate them on to maybe just consider, or maybe something that they might find useful for their fair or event or rodeo or whatever it is, what would that one thing be?
Don't be afraid to call your neighboring fair and ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to think out of the box. I mean, I think so many times people get stuck in the rut and they're afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to try something new. It's, even if you make a mistake and it doesn't work, it's okay. And it always, a wonderful lady, Becky Bailey Finley, always told me, change 20%, but keep 80. And I try and strive to do that every year.
I love that. And I want people to hear that. Change 20%, keep 80. Because a lot about what I talk about is innovate. You have to innovate, or else you're going to be left in the dust. But you don't need to innovate a ton.
Right.
That 20%, 80% rule, I think is fantastic. Kim, I cannot thank you enough for joining us on this episode. I really enjoyed talking with you, and I think the value that we're providing to the listeners is incredible. We went over a bunch of topics of how do you get by with a small staff, how to market your events, innovation. I mean, the whole kit and caboodle, we did it. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, you bet. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Event Academy Live. I hope you found immense value in it. I love talking to Kim today from the Norte County Fair. Until next time, fellow event organizers, keep leveling up.
Thank you for listening to the Event Academy Live podcast.
This show is powered by Fusion.
Event solutions for the modern event organizer. Don't forget to like, rate, and review. We hope you enjoyed the show. Until next week, keep leveling up, fellow event organizers.